Hey guys, my name is Tebogo Thomas Ramakwakwa. I am an alumni of Tux, or the University of Pretoria, and also the co-founder of the SBK Leadership Academy. In this second video on the topic of servanthood, or as I like to call it, servant leadership, we are going to go deeper into what the characteristics of a servant leader is. So in the first video, we spoke a little bit about the mindset, the mentality of a servant leader, the types of things that a servant leader says, the heart really behind a person who calls himself a servant leader, which is honestly, in my opinion, the best type of leader that there is. All right, we're going to go deeper into their characteristics, and there's a few things that I've jotted down in a list that I'm about to share in a second. Characteristic trait number one, right? A servant leader listens actively. Now, I really want you guys to go tune in the third video we're making on servant leadership, which is the debrief video, because that's where I'm going to go a bit deeper into each characteristic trait. But for now, we're going to define them as is, or rather just state them as is, and then we'll go deeper as to what they look like in practice later. The reason being is you guys are going to do an activity as soon as I'm done listing all the characteristic traits and try to apply these characteristic traits into the different scenarios. All right, so again, number one is a servant leader listens actively. Number two, a servant leader knows how to prioritize. I'll give you a small glimpse of what that is. Do you know the difference between important and urgent? Characteristic trait number three, a servant leader has empathy, or they know how to empathize, right? Yeah, you might need a dictionary for this one. I hope not. You're in grade 11. You should know what the word empathy means. But anyways, okay, check it out. We'll go deeper as to what that means later. Number four, a servant leader has foresight, right? Foresight. They can see things before they happen. It's not a supernatural gift, but we'll go more into what it looks like later. Number five, a servant leader possesses awareness, the ability to be aware of everything that's happening around them, especially things that are going to influence the direction that they are trying to take going forward or leading the group forward. Number six, being similar to number four, but not exactly, a servant leader has a vision. They set a vision. Okay, so four is they have foresight, but sets of vision is more detailed, and we'll go into it later. Characteristic trait number seven, a servant leader knows how to persuade. Now, I'll give a bit of a glimpse of what that means. There's a difference between influence or persuading, which is what I like to use, the word influence and persuade, they're synonyms. And there's a difference between that and manipulation, right? Which is the negative of persuading or influencing. But we'll go deeper into what that means. Number eight, a servant leader loves to empower. Not just has the ability to empower, but they actually are passionate about empowering themselves and also other people. Last but not least, a servant leader has the ability to adapt. If anything 2020 and 2021 has taught us is that we all have this need of a skill to be able to adapt. Again, we'll go deeper into what it looks like in the next video. Okay, now that we're done listing all the characteristic traits, I want to give a few scenarios of where we could practice or see these characteristic traits into practice. I, for one, have always found myself in positions of leadership from a young age, whether it was group leaders for projects or just prefects, so on and so forth. And one thing that's always challenging about working or leading people is just leading people, working in a group. People are difficult. People have different emotions. People have different ideas, right? So as a servant leader, if you find yourself in a situation where you are a leader of a group and people have not pulled their weight, in other words, they haven't done what they were supposed to do, and now you're going to get into trouble for doing something, or rather somebody else not doing what they were supposed to do. I know it's a bit challenging working in groups, generally speaking. What do? How do you practice these servant leadership skills? If I were to give one specific scenario, let's say you have you are part of the RCL, right? Imagine this, or prefect in grade 12 next year. And then you are given a project to organize, let's say, a party for your principal. Let's say they're retiring at the end of the year and the grade 12s are responsible for organizing this project. So let's say some people are supposed to find the quotes for, decorations, how much it's going to cost. And let's say another group is supposed to get the invites out, get the database, capture the information for the parents, invite alumni of the school or people that were part of the school but are no longer part of the school. How is this going to go down? Right. And let's say in this specific scenario that none of the things have been done or some of them have only been done 1/3 of it being done. What do you do to solve that problem as a servant leader? How do you practice the characteristic traits that we have just mentioned now to make sure that you move forward and that you get to the deadline? I wonder how you guys are going to answer that. Right, so you guys will get an opportunity to cover that work in the activation worksheets that you are able to print out. The second thing that comes to mind when I think of a scenario I can present to you guys is working with close friends. Right, friendship is another topic for another video. Go check it out. But when you are leading a friend and you are, again, their leader, let's say, for example, you are the head boy and they are all head girl and they are just one of the prefects, okay, which is a big deal. I shouldn't just say just, right? You're a prefect, okay, and your friend is not doing their duty. Now you have the responsibility as their friend to let them know that they're not doing their duty. How do you navigate through this situation? How do you tell your friend that has purposefully missed their duties because they're not enjoying the whole role and responsibility that comes with being a leader? Responsibility, which is another video, go check it out. All right, how do you navigate through the situation? I wonder how you would go about it, right? Your best friend is not doing their duty. What would you do? How would you practice empathy, which is a servant characteristic, a servant leader characteristic trait? How do you practice awareness, so on and so forth, to make sure that the job gets done? Right, I wonder how you're going to respond to that scenario. I can't wait to see your responses. All right, guys, I could give a million scenarios that you guys could go through, but we're going to stop right there for this activation part. So I hope you guys can practice it out. And like I said, please, you need to watch the third video because we're going to touch a bit more in depth what the servant leadership characteristics look like. All right, guys, that's it from my side. This is Tebogo Thomas Ramakhwakwa closing off the second video on servanthood or servant leadership. I can't wait to see you in part 3. Enjoy.